Hello there, welcome back to more shows. Today I'm doing these live streams during a heat wave. So I don't have any lights on. I just have the natural light come through. I don't not filtered any of my webcam, so I don't want to have to do that and try and make an image. It's just too warm to try and do that stuff. Like windows are open to get some air in the room because it's too warm. So there may be background noise every so often. Sorry about that, but it's the same way to do these videos just now. Well, we're in the middle of summer and it's really warm. So I'm just going to do the videos as basic as possible for today, but that's just the way it has to go. Right, so what I'm going to start off with is Ju-On The Grudge collection. Now, I'm only actually going to cover the Cost 1 and 2, The Grudge and The Grudge 2. I'm not covering White Ghost and Black Ghost from this collection. The reason is the films I'm covering were directed by Takashi Shimizu, who originally did the series. He did most of it. He did the American remake plus the Grudge 2 over there. So he's done 6 Grudge films. After that point, when the series started to fall away, it died for a couple of years. He went off and did some other films, which I'm going to cover later on in the year. And they came back and did the Ju-On Origin Netflix, and they also did basically White Ghost, Black Ghost. I tried watching these. I thought they were terrible, so I'm not covering them. I never get through them. It was a case of showing you what happens when you don't have the right director who understands horror and atmosphere making these films, because you need it's tied to a certain talent, a certain focus and certain fears that this person obviously is good at expressing, and other people just can't do it. So that's why I'm only covering his films. Now, The Grudge and The Grudge 2 I have in DVD, which I'll cover them. The American ones, I'll cover them later on at some point. I've also got Marabito, I've got Reincarnation, I've got Shock Labyrinth 3D to cover as well. So they'll probably come later in the year as well. These are all on DVD, just in case of when I get to them. Because it's so warm here, it's actually harder to watch stuff and make videos. So we'll get to them when we get to them, because I don't know how my schedule's going to be over the next couple of weeks during this heat wave. So to the films and to the series. Now the series started off with The Castle 1 and 2, which was shot over 9 days, which is, that's quite it's quite interesting how 9 days is used to shoot 2 films. But you realise there's a cheat, because the first half hour of The Grudge 2, The Curse 2, is the end of Curse 1, explains some of the plot lines, so you can get the second half. So it's essentially, you fast forward through that, so essentially it's an hour and a half, hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes film, plus another 45 minutes from the other one, so it really makes up to a 2-hour film. So I kind of count it as one film. I watched them one after another. So to me, I was like watching one long film. I watched the Grudge, Ju-On The Grudge, and Ju-On The Grudge 2 fairly close together as well. So I saw them all pretty close together, and all make up one world, one great atmosphere. So they really work as a whole. I have not seen the remake for a long time. I remember enjoying it with reservations. Like, the atmosphere was good, but some of the American cast I didn't care for at the time. But I'll be rewatching them and seeing what I feel like now. But I would definitely say that the Ju-On Shimizu Ju-On series is a must see if you like Japanese horror. They are really terrific. They really have something that's just under the surface creepy going on in them, because it's all about family dynamics and trauma and people becoming ghosts due to trauma, and then their curse carrying on to other people. And it's just this disease of bad feeling just spreading throughout the land, and it's really wonderful. And it just works. It works in the way the best ghost stories work, where you don't explain everything. You explain some stuff, and some of it comes on the atmosphere of what's going on, and slowly the atmosphere builds and creates a compulsive world for you to be engaged with. That's what the best ghost stories do. I think most best ghost stories do not tell you everything. You have to leave a little bit to someone's imagination so they can fill in the blanks. And does it mean this? Does it mean that? That's what the best ghost stories tend to have, is like leaving a little bit to your imagination. And this film understands that completely. I like the Ju-On series, these Ju-On series, a lot more than I like The Ring. I like The Ring, but Ju-On always felt creepier to me. It just felt, because it, The Ring always was about the mystery of trying to find out who the girl was on the screen who was killing these others, and then find her backstory and try to stop her and all the rest of it. And there was a detective story after a while, rather than a horror story. I like the horror stuff, but not the detective stuff so much. So in this one, it's like there is some detecting, but there's not much, and whoever does any detecting is doomed, really. And these stories are actually all about, they're very much short sequences of different characters finding out about the grudge, and it goes back and forward in the timeline. So you can have a character going through something, and you flash back to much earlier, and you find out how they got there, or how another character saw them and got to their doom. So it becomes a fragmented timeline will take place over a certain chunk of time for each film. It shows you how they can miss people can miss the information. Also, because they'll miss it because no one believes in supernatural. But the fragmented timelines actually makes it much more understandable to understand the actual terror and the atmosphere of only seeing something, like only seeing half of something, and trying to make decisions on information that's incomplete, and everything's going to lead you to your doom. So I'll go individually to the films, but to be honest, they're mainly about the atmosphere more than breaking them down like carefully into like this or that, because they all kind of blur into your head, really. Um, the first, the Cuss films pretty much are the shot in 9 days, and they have some dodgy acting because they were pretty much, you shoot them in 9 days. It means you're doing first, second takes of everything. We're shot on video, which helped them the pacing, because they had to move fast. So you set the shot up, you shoot it, you go to the next one, the next one. And there are some elements in the film that are a bit dodgy with the acting, and the some of the writing is explains a bit too much sometimes for the character beats. Like, they understand exactly how to do the horror stuff, just the character stuff sometimes is like, we don't need some of this stuff. But what the film really has is this sense of escalating doom. So you have a teacher going to find out why a student hasn't come to school. He finds this small boy in the house, seemingly abandoned. And then we move on. We discover that the boy and his mother were killed by the father. And then we're just slowly going forward with this idea of the curse, and then you go back in time and you actually get more information with the mother and the boy as well, and it's a slow unraveling of the motivations, but also this atmosphere of dread that's engulfing this house. It's like, is it the house itself that's haunted, and it just traps these people within it, and then the stain of the death spread to other places via people's interaction with the house, or is it these figures are haunted themselves? It never gives a full explanation. There is suggested there's something off the house. It's a very normal suburban house. You would never imagine it to be the house from hell or anything. But that's why it works, because it's just a very normal house. The house that most of us live in. Japanese design, but pretty much the similar stuff to what most of us have. And then suddenly it's just like the unnerving elements of like suburban life turned up into full supernatural horror. One of what is really good is the victims are widespread of characters. There's no like one type of victim. You have men, women, young, old, middle aged. They tend to go for younger women for the lead when you get to the Grudge films. But before that, there's no real strong central character. There's just these different characters, and what it does is it makes you realize everybody, most people are likable in the film, but everybody's pretty much doomed. It's like there's no escape for anybody in these films, and the the sense of people undeserving of their fates is there throughout. A sense of people really get hurt by what goes on in these films through no fault of their own. They're just trying to survive. They're just trying to move on with their lives, and they unfortunately go to a house that's haunted, or they have a, you know, just bad luck, or they move into a house that's haunted, and just things go wrong. And you get various characters like someone teaching the daughter of the person who owns the house uh, additional studies, and everybody gets cussed there because of that. And there's just that non-stop sense of this incoming doom that's always going to be there. Like one character who carries over to the Curse 2 senses there's something wrong in this room, in this house, and she tries to avoid it, but she still gets damned by the circumstances by trying to help her family out, who also try to take the house, and she gets damned anyway as well as the rest of the family. That's just non-stop sense of, even the police who investigate it, they get damned too. I mean, the whole film is about that sense of doom. So by the time you get into the Grudge films, where they have like the Curse films are 4:3 ratio and they're shot on video. The Grudge films are shot on film and actually have like a low budget but a decent budget for what they need. They have more time to work with the actors, more time to work with the special effects, which means the makeup can be done better and can be more, and they can do more takes to actually get the movements right to make it creepier. And they do have, even though it's very fragmented and it's still jumping back and forward in time, they tie into one character and it's all different characters relate to this one character. So it gives it a bit more of a cohesion. Not much, there's still enough fragmentation so you get a sense of the creepiness, the whole thing of this continual doom that's coming for everybody, and a sense of the dislocation that adds to the horror. But they still have a character you can always go back to as they're heading towards their doom. So and this one, it's a young woman who's trying to do well in the caring business, like around the care for people, and she's trying to get a foot in the door, and she ends up going to go to the house to care for an old woman, and all hell breaks loose. It's like one of those things you don't want to tell too much, but at this point you've got the established idea of the small child who, when he opens his mouth, he gives a cat screech, and his mother, his dead mother, who crawls down the stairs and makes these horrible noises with her mouth, and just this general atmosphere is there now. Is very much a director now knows what he's doing completely. But even in the cast, there's some really haunted images of a family who are affected by the curse, who don't even live in that house, and you just see the whole house rotten from the inside as each one slowly gets affected, and ends up seeing different images of this cursed figure throughout a whole school, and it's just wonderful. In the sequel, I don't think you have as many in like the Grudge films. I think the atmosphere's stronger and the execution's stronger, and the characterization's a bit stronger. But you don't have that raw feeling of doom that you get from the Curse films. It's a bit more refined and it's a bit more ghostly and a sense of great craftsmanship. But there's it lacks a lot of the raw edge that the Curse films had. But the Grudge, the first one is the strongest one, I think, of the films. Like start to front to back, I think is the strongest. The Ju-On The Grudge is the strongest one. The Grudge 2, Ju-On The Grudge 2 is good, but it takes a while to get going because it's all about this woman who's a actress who does a lot of horror films, and she's pregnant, and she and her husband in a crash, and you jump back and forward as she's tied to the because she went to the house to do a story of this cursed house, and everybody who did the thing, which would either be the sound person, the cameraman, whoever was involved, they all start to slowly see the curse and start to see the ghost coming for them. But it's mainly from the point of view of the woman who's getting more and more affected by the whole thing. But because it's all about this mechanic of all these people go to the house and they're all cursed, it keeps it back a little bit to start with, so you don't know that's the cause. But it means the first half's a bit more fragmented, like too much for narrative. Even why am I watching this? Second half really delivers though. The second half has some wonderful moments of horror, from like a delivery scene that's just brutal. There's horror scenes with children, a creepy child. There's a suicide scene in a small flat that's really creepy, and there's bumping in this flat that's when you find out why it's happening, it's pretty creepy, the idea behind it. So there's lots of really great stuff in The Grudge too. It's just the story, the set up, because they shot it pretty quickly after the Grudge one, and I think they could have taken a bit more time with the script just to finesse it a little bit, because the first half's a bit awkward. But all four of these films are wonderful. They're all great. I mean, you have to get around the first half of the Cuss 2 is basically a repeat of the end of the first Cuss film. You just have to fast forward through that. And the second and then the other two, there's an awkward early section of the Grudge 2 that is too fragmented. It takes away the delight of this growing atmosphere. It just becomes very basic fragmentation of I'm not quite sure who I'm following, and I'm not getting emotional attachment to them. I need the horror to work, and then eventually it comes all together. But it takes too much of a time to come together. But these are still wonderful films. All four are wonderful films. I'd highly recommend them. I'm going to stop now. I'm just trying to do a promotion. I don't want to give away any more of the films. They are so good. I'd highly recommend you go and see them because there's so much good stuff in them. That's a masterclass in how to do horror properly. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be back soon with some more. That's me for now. Right, bye.